The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. You've got to get mad. I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? It's crazy. That movie's, I believe, from the 70s? And everything he's talking about is currently happening now. The whole situation with crime going up, the whole situation with banks, Russia this and Russia that. I definitely think it's fitting for these times, that's for sure. Yeah, so people should be mad as hell. There's all kind of shenanigans going on. I'll share some information from a video that we can go over, but I think there's actually an agenda starting to show its ugly face. And I'm going to explain to you why it is I think all these banks are failing. All right, we'll get into that now. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, check out our friends at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $200, you will get an additional ½ ounce of silver with your order. Just follow the link down below in the description. No promo codes are needed. You can find me on other social media platforms like Facebook. I do have my own group called Pimpy's Investment Chat. Over here we do talk about gold, silver, cryptocurrency, as well as foreign currency investments and any other investments you wish to talk about. Come on over here. It's free to join. Just follow the link down below in the description. I can be found on Twitter, MeWe, YouTube, Odyssey, and now Rumble. Yes, that's right. I finally got a Rumble. And in addition to that, you can find me over here at Pimpy's News Network. If I should ever get kicked off of YouTube, you can find me on any other one of these platforms. So come join me. It's free to do so. The links for all these locations are down below in the description. So come on over and join me. So as you can clearly see, it's not just our banks here in the United States. It's also over in Europe. All these things are not a coincidence. All of them have a hidden agenda. It's all the same agenda. It comes from the World Economic Forum, the Great Reset. All these corporations at one time or another agreed to join this movement, and now they're using their power to force everybody the direction they want you to go into. So you got Deutsche Bank, UBS, especially Credit Suisse. Look at how far they've dropped off. Look at their values. They're dropping off. This is done by plan. You know, they want these banks to all merge together. This way, then, they have more control over the people, and that's around the world. Whether you like it or not, they're going to be controlling your money. What government should be doing is not bailing them out, letting them collapse, and then allowing an opportunity for more banks to open. Well, as of right now, cryptos are down a little bit, but for the most part, they took a pretty good leap. You have Bitcoin at $27,210, Ethereum at $1,783. XRP still at 37 cents. That thing doesn't budge very much one way or the other. Hex is at 8 cents. Cardano's at 34 cents. Polygon is at $1.19. Dogecoin is at 7 cents. Solana is at $21.83. Polkadot is at $6.46. Shiba is at 4011. And you got Litecoin at $83.79. And since cryptos went on a mini run, and I mean a mini one, you got all the billionaires again trying to convince everybody to jump back into Bitcoin. Yeah, jump back into crypto. I say, wait, what are you talking about? There's got to be some consistency first. There's no consistency there. Terra Luna Classic is at 30135. And look at Saitama, 2022. Back into the twos they go. And they're moving pretty good. They've actually been doing decent despite all the other stuff that's going on with the other cryptos. So kudos to Saitama, doing pretty good despite everything else that's going on with cryptocurrencies. Of course, we've seen gold take a healthy jump. It closed the week at $1,989.30. On Friday, it went up $69, and I think the day before that, it was up $30-something. Every time they get near the $2,000 mark, all of a sudden, magically, they'll drop. So is that time past? Are we going to start seeing the true value of gold here? I don't know about you, but I'm not ready for that. I want to collect more gold and silver. Silver at $22.60, almost $23. Just like gold, Once all these banks started collapsing, people were doing the smart thing and moving over into precious metals. So what is really going on with the banks around the world? First of all, the one thing a lot of people have noticed that these banks, they cater to a lot of corporations that are all part of the woke culture. So those companies that they bank with, they're all part of this get woke, go broke. Another thing that I noticed anyways, how is it that these billionaires, whether it was in Signature Bank or in the Silvergate banks or in the Silicon Valley banks, how come they all knew to pull out all their money before the banks crashed? Somebody told them way before they told the public. Heads need to roll. You know, we don't get that special privilege. They didn't go around and alert all of their customers, just to rich people first. So what did everybody do? They moved all of their monies into the bigger banks. Bank of America, Wells Fargo. This is what you don't want to do. You don't want to move into a bigger bank feeling you're safe, because it's not the truth. They're just consolidating the power structure of the financial system. For those of you who might not remember this, sometime around the end of last year, they started telling people that there's a new system being rolled out that should start sometime in May or June. So is this why the banks are acting kooky? Is this why they're all magically having trouble? Fed's instant payment service, FedNow, set to be launched by July of 2023. So what's a good reason for launching this? Well, have problems with your bank. This way then you could say, this will take care of that problem. The Federal Reserve is on track to deliver an instant payment service called FedNow between May and July of 2023, the central bank's clearest timeline yet for a new system enabling settlements of U.S. payments in seconds. Check this part out. The FedNow service also potentially negates the need for creation of a central bank digital currency or a CBDC. They're trying to tell us that this system, we won't need a central bank digital currency. What does that mean to get rid of cash? Because any service that they implement that they want us to get rid of cash is not one we want to support. Essentially, this does the same thing. Keeps track of all your business. The FedNow service will transform the way everyday payments are made throughout the economy, bringing sustainable gains to households and businesses through the ability to send instant payments at any time on any day, and the funds being immediately available to recipients to make other payments or manage cash flow efficiently. Now, I don't know about you, but my ATM card moves just fine. I don't need any new fancy system controlled by the feds, keeping track of all my business, even though they could do that with my ATM card. But at least I have the option to grab cash if I want to. So they're trying to say this thing negates having a central bank digital currency. Very interesting. The Fed has been testing the system with a limited number of banks and institutions. But brain nerds call on financial institutions, service providers, and software companies to adapt the FedNow service now to ensure the system will work smoothly come next spring. So is this what's going on? Are they now consolidating all the banks and putting us into this new system? Did they ask the public if the public wanted this kind of stuff? Did we get a say-so in any of it? These things affect everyday Americans one way or another, and they're not asking us for input. They're not asking us if these things are all right. They're forcing us into this. The time is now for all key stakeholders, you're not one of the stakeholders, to devote the resources necessary to support instant payments. What are you talking about? I'm fine. My payments move just as quick. I don't care if I got to send a check, if I got to use my ATM card, whatever. It moves just fine. I don't need a fancier system to be quicker. You know, that's what they try to do, is give you this false sense of safety and quickness, when all actuality, it's just a new system that's going to screw you over. So again, this came out in, when was this? August 29th of 2022. So is this why all the banks are collapsing? Once again, I come back to Redactit. I love these guys' channel, but they are going to cover some issues that I brought up in the past. They're saying the same thing that I am about a lot of things. But let's listen in because they have a lot to say.
World is going on with the banks right now, and we, I think, are about to have a repeat of the 2008 financial collapse in a couple of different ways. But it's going to look a lot different, though, this time, because this morning, we'll get into some of the details of how it's going to look different. But it is starting to shape up this way, and it's very, very troubling. Fresh signs, though, that the banking collapse is sweeping across the globe, about to hit Europe as well. Of course, this morning, all of the concern in Europe. That's why the stock market today was down 500 points this morning, but it was up 300 points yesterday. We'll get into why that is, but Credit Suisse, of course, a European bank, big concerns that it could sweep across Europe. So I got a question for you, though. Why does the stock market go up 300 points yesterday?
That's what I'm saying, man. You can't even trust the stock market. When they tell you that the stock market is being run by computers, algorithms, in other words, they have programmed these stock market computers to balance the economy the way they want it to, which is just a lie. The data is fake. It's false.
When the U.S. banks are collapsing, all around, it goes up, and then when it goes down 500 points, when there's fears of the European banking sector collapsing. Can anybody answer that in the chat? Be curious. We'll kind of maybe come back to you guys. Put in your thoughts here. What do you think? What do you think?
Because the stock market is a perversion.
Yes, it is perverted. The stock market is a perversion. It is perverted. It's artificial, and it's artificially propped up by fake U.S. dollars. Right. And so Europe, though, different scenario. And so as the United States is trying to prop up the U.S. economy right now, trying to prop up all of these U.S. banks.
That's what I've been saying. You can't trust what the government's telling us anymore. They just lie. All the data is false.
Europe is basically saying, and Saudi Arabian investors inside of Credit Suisse were like, no, they don't need help. They're gonna crash on their own. So like what the United States is doing is like bailing out these people who made risky investments and made stupid moves. And Europe right now is like, let them wallow in their own filth, perhaps. We'll see how it shapes out.
Yeah.
But so that's maybe perhaps part of it. We can get into more of this. So we'll try to make our way through this mess. Yesterday, Moodys, though, the ratings agency, downgraded the entire banking system. Watch this announcement.
The entire system.
Moodys cuts outlook on U.S. banking system to negative, not on individual banks, on the system, citing, and this is a quote, rapidly deteriorating operating environment. Rapidly deteriorating operating environment. That is an understatement, but undoubtedly true.
Yeah, and so on Friday, of course, when this was hitting Silicon Valley Bank, economists who know this very well were saying this is not just going to be isolated. They're all interconnected, and this is going to spread rapidly. Mm-hmm. And then it did to Signature Bank, and it's spreading to other banks. Mm-hmm.
When you consolidate the banking institutions and people have less options, as soon as one thing happens to one bank, it doesn't take very long for it to spread out to other banks. That's because we don't have very many options out there. The more banks we have out there, the less likely it's to affect all of them. But you consolidate all the power into a handful of banks, doesn't take very much for them to be affected by actions of another bank.
Mm-hmm. And now it's spreading to European banks. Here's how CNN covered. I love the way that they just kind of downplayed this. They're like, it's kind of a big deal, but this is CNN. Watch.
How should we be interpreting Moody's decision now to downgrade the entire banking sector?
Well, it's certainly a sign of continued concern about these banks. Moody's says that they expect that banks are going to continue to remain under pressure for as long as the Federal Reserve hikes interest rates. They're warning they could downgrade 6 U.S. banks, including First Republic Bank, Western Alliance, and Comerica.
U.S. banks on watch for potential downgrade. So if you have your money in any of these banks, be prepared. Most likely, they're going to experience some kind of crash as well. Again, all they're doing is just purging out all the little banks and trying to consolidate all the power into the bigger banks.
So those are the other banks now on that list.
But given that we're corporate backed, we're not going to ask you to panic about it.
Yeah, don't panic. CNBC not panicking. Like, it's amazing to watch CNBC I can't believe these guys are still on the air. Like, literally a few weeks ago, Jim Cramer was telling his audience, yeah, there's nothing wrong with Silicon Valley Bank. Go invest in them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a big kind of mocking Reddit thing where anything Jim Cramer says, you short it. You short what he tells you to buy.
Yeah, you would have been rich.
And yet Wall Street skyrocketed yesterday. 300 points. The Dow Jones up 300 points. The system is rigged for the wealthy. The few who run the show, I mean, look no further than the small regional banks that we covered here yesterday on the show.
I've been saying that now for a long time. People thought I was crazy. They're like, no, Pimpy can't be all rigged. It's all rigged. All of it. They rig and manipulate the gold and silver prices. They rig the cryptocurrencies, the banking systems, the stock market. It's all part of the same evil plan.
Show, which are folding up and seeing massive withdrawals. So all these little banks in these little towns drying up, collapsing, and the big banks, where's the money flowing? It's flowing right to the big banks. We knew this was going to happen, and we covered this yesterday, and now we know. Over the past 48 hours, Bank of America, get this, saw record deposits. Record deposits.
From where?
Small banks. People taking their money out of the small banks and putting them into the really big banks, the hegemonic banks, the ones that are totally propped up and in partnership with the Biden administration, the federal government. Look at this. Basically, 15 billion new deposits, new accounts set up. Bank of America has raked in 15 billion new deposits after the SVB collapse. Go ahead, David.
Well, and they put out these graphics that show all of the negative percentages of all these small banks. And then you see the ones that are still in the green, the Bank of America, the big banks. And you're like, oh, I guess I better put my money there because they're in the green. So it's by design that they do that.
It doesn't change the amount that your account is insured for. The FDIC insurance is still $250,000. So it does not necessarily make you safer. It just makes you feel like you're in a more crowded place.
Well, you know what's funny about the FDIC thing you bring up is that it's now $250,000 that you're protected, right? Quote unquote protected. But now it's infinite. Because what the Biden administration just did was basically say 250,000 that's not a real number anymore. Now they're bailing out all of these people that had much bigger deposits.
Because these people make up Silicon Valley, a lot of their wealthy friends, including Governor Gavin Newsom. So this is why all of a sudden we're bailing them out. Technically, we're not supposed to be bailing them out. They made a promise that we would not be bailing out any more banks, but here they are, Obama in his third term bailing out banks.
So it is no longer $250,000.
In fact, by some reports, the Meghan Markles of the world had their accounts there.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom had his account with Silicon Valley Bank.
I think she probably had more than 250,000.
And so did Gavin Newsom, and so did these other people.
Yeah.
So Gavin Newsom was out there championing this bailout because he didn't disclose to his audiences and his voters that he actually is a big customer of Silicon Valley Bank. So yeah, these guys, $250,000 is no longer the threshold. And by the way, that was increased after the 2008 collapse. It was 100,000.
Oh.
So now it's up to 250,000. But now it's infinite. So these are artificial fake numbers. Of course, and you know, people are laid off. Facebook laying off 10,000 people. All of these tech companies laying...
Tyson Chicken today laying off 1,500, I think, was the number. You
can't keep track of all of them. Let us know in the chat, like if you know of other companies are laying people off right now. So what's happening again, it's like lockdown 2.0, 2008 in a different light. We're seeing the same thing. A collapse of the banking system that is now being propped up by the Biden administration, not letting it to collapse. What they should have done in the United States is allow Silicon Valley Bank to collapse. Like, I'm sorry. You make risky investments. You bet big on these things. And
woke crap is what they bet on. Look, how real capitalism works is this. When companies fail, you don't bail them out. You let them fail. Either they regroup, change what it is that they failed at, and become a successful company, or they just fail altogether. But when we have governments who have ties or shares in a lot of these companies, they bail them out with taxpayer dollars. They get rich, the companies get rich, while we get screwed over.
And they should be allowed to have their natural course of things and die off, right? And then you don't prop them up.
But,
well I was going to say, at the core, they're already propped up anyway because the whole system is a sham because it's not even real money. And they have all these rules. They can do fractional banking, and for every dollar they can loan out 10. It's like that whole system from the core is flawed. And how can you not do what they're doing in that environment?
Right. I mean, the big criticism of 2008 was that they never allowed it to actually collapse.
Yes.
Right? It never allowed it to get it out of its system. Like if you have a sickness or an illness, it's like taking Imodium instead of actually going to the bathroom, right? It blocks you up. You shouldn't use that crap. right? You should actually just get it out of your system. And in 2008, we never got it out of our system. We blocked it up.
Yeah.
The Fed added trillions to its balance sheet. And now we've added another $7 trillion to our balance sheet to block and take care of all of these deposits. We're never going to get it out of our system until we see the ultimate depression and collapse.
Yeah, but by then, it's the little people that got screwed over. And still, the rich, connected friends, the politicians, Wall Street, the bankers, they all make out like bandits with no repercussions. Anyways, you guys let me know what you think. I'll look forward to your comment, and I will catch you later. I'm out.